welcome to this episode of On the Bench. I'm your host, Nick Smith, here as always in the lovely Folsom Studios of Northern California. Look, I got an exciting show today. I'm really pumped for this one. It's going to be cool. I think this is a market that the world is screaming for, and we got some fun toys to show you. And it's all about audience interaction, right? That's what we're going to talk about today. As always, ask your questions in the question slot there, and we will get to them at the end. We'll do a live Q&A and get all the things that are on your mind that come up. But as you come up with an idea, put it in the chat or put it in the question so we can get to it later. There are a couple handouts as well. Make sure you grab the handouts because they're only there while the session's open and then they disappear because woof, that's the internet for you, right? But make sure you grab the handouts and we get that. If you get to the end of this and you go, I want to know more, as always, call us. We will connect you with the people and get you everything you ever needed to know, like pricing and availability and demos and the fun stuff. But reach out to your JB&A team to get that. But today is all about audience interaction, right? And really, audience interaction is what makes a live event live, right? I mean, the ability to scream alongside your fellow fans, wear goofy paint and chant like you mean it, if you want a picture. But look, not until about 10 years ago or more, to the point when these little babies became part of our daily wardrobe, did audience engagement really become part of the actual show, right? I mean, sure, you can text or call your vote in for your favorite new pop star. And thanks to Twitter, we can see live posts from viewers. Then we might see something else that's not for broadcast as well, because hey, it's Twitter, right? But of course, let's not forget that Facebook brought us this, and the more likes we get, possibly the more dollars my channel gets, ad revenue. But the real engagement in the stadium, on your couch, wherever your audience is watching, whatever's possible, right? That has really been around the rise of the second screen, which was promised to us years ago. But I don't know that anybody's really taking advantage of this, maybe outside of Amazon with their acquisition of IMDb. I mean, where did I just see that actor on? What show was he on, right? And then I can hit it. And look, I'm sure my house is not the only one who gets in the wars of who's that on my screen right now. But with that, I'm really excited to have Scott and Belal and Matt from Grass Valley to talk about the Grass Valley gaming and polling platform, because I think this is really where this second screen interaction and the true audience interaction can take form. And it's a platform that we can actually use today, right? It's not a promise of what's to come. So with that, I want to introduce Scott Clary, Belal Hummadi, and Matt Bain from Grass Valley. Gents, let's talk about interaction, live audience interaction.
That's quite the intro. I appreciate it. You have a lot of charisma and enthusiasm, so I'll try and keep it going as I
get excited about this stuff, man. I can't help it.
That's very good. I like it. All right, so we're going to be speaking about gaming and polling and audience engagement, and the product that we're going to be showing you and we're going to be talking about, and you're going to be asking questions about, is Grass Valley Gaming and Polling. So essentially, anywhere you have a screen, you're able to launch games, polls, contests, and trivia. Now, as with all good presentations, I will share my screen to kick this off, and I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everyone to, there we go. So we got a screen going here. I'm going to ask everyone to go to gvpoll.com on their phones or on your laptop or whatever, and you're going to see a poll there that we've launched, just to give you an idea, to kick this off and keep it kind of fun and light. So I want you to answer the question that you see when you go to gvpoll.com. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. I'm going to flip over to what that question is and show everyone what you're all answering. So when I go to gvpoll.com, we're asking what you're going to be doing after quarantine. So is it vacation with the family? Is it a walk around the block? Is it bar pub? Is it vacation away from the family? Or are you just going to be going back to the office? So I'm curious to see what people are excited to do. And I'll do the responsible option, since this is a work call for me. So I'll say go back to the office. But it's probably more like a bar pub, or I guess you can walk around the block now if we're careful. But I'll wait. And as you can see, the results are coming in, and they're live and they're moving. And this is a very simple example of how to launch one of these and sort of shows you what the software actually does. And I'm going to give it 2 more seconds, and then I'm going to come back to this and show you what this looks like under the hood and how I set this up, and etc. and so on. So before I show you under the hood, I'll give people some options to, or a second to actually respond back. I'm going to give you a little bit of a primer on the gaming and polling solution. I'm going to do an overview. I'm going to actually show you. What it looks like on a screen, and then we kind of did a demo, but I'm going to show you what it looks like under the hood, how to actually use the software. And remember, this is all SaaS, so we're all speaking about cloud products, software as a service. Very easy to set up and implement. Username, password, login, and a computer is all you need to use any of the products and the product that I'm going to be showing you today. So let me move over to what this looks like on a screen. So this is something that we're enabling broadcasters to use. Grass Valley has proprietary software for this. However, the gaming and polling on screen obviously is not something that is new in 2020. Like, we have seen this before on screens, and now we have a very comprehensive offering to enable Grass Valley customers to include as part of their Grass Valley complete workflow. So this is what you will see on a screen when you run some sort of gaming and polling. Just examples, screenshots of what it looks like. Usually you'll have your big thing, your big event going on in the back, and then you'll have a call to action at the bottom with beautiful graphics telling people to go vote somewhere, and then you have your percentages fluctuating on screen. And as we go through, there's a variety of different things that you can use it for. These are back-to-back esports examples, but obviously, as we look at other examples, news, sports, politics, sentiment, quizzing, trivia, all this stuff. This is what gaming and polling is. So anywhere you have a broadcast, anywhere you have a screen, even stadiums, for example, we've used this technology to launch these sentiment, these feedback, these surveys, or even the quizzes and the trivia to audiences and get them really involved. And that does 2 things. So first of all, it obviously involves the audience and brings them into the broadcast. So the broadcast is no longer just linear. It's no longer just one way. Now it's 2 ways, but also you have the opportunity to now offer sponsorship opportunities for these types of games, polls, contests, trivia. So that's really a benefit to the broadcaster. So it's a benefit to the audience, a benefit to the broadcaster. And in a time where it's even more relevant now, because we're trying to keep people engaged and excited with the entertainment that they have. Everyone's watching as much TV as they possibly could, especially right now because we're all stuck at home, unfortunately. But now is a time when we can give them a little bit extra and keep it a little bit more entertaining, obviously. And that's really the goal of gaming and polling. Just more mock-ups of how to use it, what it can look like, and the opportunities, and obviously the options are endless. So now when we bring this onto a screen, the technical individuals will wonder, okay, so that's great. We launch a game or a poll or a contest. How do we actually bring it on air? So 2 takeaways. The first one is all the graphics are all HTML5 graphics. So they're all beautiful. They're all dynamic. They're moving. They're fluctuating on screen. And we can take care of that as well. So when we do implement this for customers, obviously, we do end-to-end. So we can come up with the concept, help them understand potential use cases, and help them ideate as to how to actually use it with their broadcast or show their audience or community. And then we can also use, well, we have the software, of course, but we can also design the graphics in line with like the brand and the fonts and the colors and whatnot, so that it looks and feels like it's in line with what the show is or what the broadcaster wants to convey. We integrate with all the major graphics software and systems to allow this to be brought and cropped onto the screen. And we can go into a little bit more technical details as to how that works, but just know that we can integrate through any graphics provider that you're using already and bring this right onto a screen so that it overlays lower third, full screen, top right corner, wherever you want to put this, it can sit on your screen overlaid and in line with the broadcast or whatever is showing. So to show you an example of what this actually looks like. This was a customer that we've used this. I'd say a landmark customer just because NBC is a relatively large and well-known broadcaster, but they used this for one of their post-football games called The Challenge. And they used it in the way where they wanted to not just have a post-game show, but they also wanted to have trivia. They wanted to have a community built. They wanted to engage the fans. They wanted to give them the opportunity to win prizes. So they launched an actual trivia post-game show, and they were using our software to do it. And how it actually rolled out, they were engaging the audience after Sunday Night Football. They provided polling and interactivity, and then that allowed them to obviously engage the fans and get the fans excited, get the fans engaged. But also it was a sponsorship opportunity because every week, every game was sponsored by a different individual, different company. So I'm going to show you a 1-minute clip of what this actually looked like. And keep in mind that this is our Grass Valley gaming and polling software running under the hood. And then we built it into a game for the challenge, graphics done up, sponsors obviously included. And this is what the final result would look like when they ran it.
Hello everyone, time now for question 1 of the challenge presented by DraftKings. If you're playing online or on our free NBCLA app, be on the gameplay page and click on A, B, or C. Here's the question. Who was the last expansion team to join the NFL? Welcome back, Danny Velasco. You just won 4 tickets to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios just for answering question 1 presented by DraftKings. Congratulations.
Okay, you might remember.
So a couple things to take away from that. You saw that there was obviously question, answer. People had registered. People were answering the questions, getting the points for getting the right response. Obviously, it was timely that you'd answer the response sooner than later. And they had 2 sponsors for this particular episode, and they would have sponsors week over week. They'd have the one DraftKings that sponsored the entire episode, and they had the smaller sponsor for the actual prize, which was the tickets. And they ran this after once a week, obviously. And then they also collected all the points over the course of the whole football season. And at the end, the person with the most points, I think they won a truck, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just one way to gamify the polling and gaming software. Not the only way you can use it, but definitely one of the more popular ways to use it when you're trying to get your fans engaged, you're trying to get them involved and whatnot. So now if we keep going through, there's a few things that I'm going to double down on and just sort of drive home before we switch over to looking under the hood and seeing what the software actually looks like when you're building these out. So the main things that you want to take away from this, or that I want you to take away from this, is that it's very easy to deploy. It's SaaS, cloud, no infrastructure. So it is log in, username, password, you're setting this up, and you're pushing this through whatever broadcast, graphics provider, or system you're using. Second being, it's very powerful. So it's powerful in a variety of ways. The first way being, it can be used from 5 individuals voting simultaneously all the way through to 500,000, 5 million voters voting simultaneously. It scales up and down quite efficiently so that there is no limit on the amount of individuals that can engage with whatever broadcast at the same time. It's based on a proprietary serverless infrastructure, so it is able to scale up and down quite simply and quite easily, so that there's no caps on how many people can use it, or there's no concerns about bandwidth or whatnot. And it's also powerful in the sense that it encompasses almost every potential type of voting mechanism that somebody would want to use. So you can use SMS or text. You can call in through an automated voice, also known as an IVR, and answer automated questions to respond to a poll or a game or a quiz. You can have this embedded on a website, or you can have it embedded in an iOS or an Android app, and you can respond to the polls and quizzes with web polls or web responses. You can also launch these polls on social media. So there's a whole bunch of ways that we can launch these polls wherever you choose to launch the polls, all the results are being aggregated, and you're able to see all the results in your backend dashboard simultaneously. So if you choose to launch an SMS campaign and you also embed it on a website and you also launch a poll on Twitter, you're seeing the results across your entire community, across these 3 mediums, for example, and you're seeing all those results aggregated and all those responses in real time and live. So it's a very powerful system, and it encompasses every potential use case you could possibly think of for how people would want to interact, or how the broadcaster or the customer would want people to interact with them. And then obviously the last major point is, if the customer's asking if I'm gonna buy this, what's it gonna do for me? Audience engagement is great, but also the ROI. So the second you build out a proof of concept for this, you start running these, you start seeing 50,000 people responding, 100,000 people responding. It's very easy to go to an advertiser and say, listen, I have a special segment that I have 100,000 people highly engaged, highly targeted, and I want you to sponsor that segment. You're going to get, whatever CPM on these 1,000 or 100,000 people. So it's very easy to sell that once you know that it's working and you're drawing in an audience. Then that's an ROI for the broadcaster or whoever's implementing it and using it. So that's also a very major selling point for the software. So I'm going to go into the back end. I guess, Nick, I'm going to ask you, would you like to pause for a few minutes and then go to the back end, or do you just want me to go through the whole thing and then ask questions at the end? Because I can do a break now.
No, let's go through the whole thing.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is the back end. And let's see, let me refresh that here. So remember at the beginning, I launched a poll, and the question was, what are you gonna do after the quarantine? So this is actually showing those results. So, I got a few results, 19 votes total, and it looks like everyone's gonna take a vacation away from their family. It's too much at home time, I guess. But this is just to show you that as we were responding back, this is the back end, this is what you're seeing. This is an example of a broadcast template. It's a very basic, color scheme and design, not very exciting, but this also emulates those results that we saw when we were responding back to this original poll that we launched. So this is great. This is the end result, but I want to show you how to start from scratch. So when you log in, you would see a landing page somewhat like this, minus all the demo accounts and demo polls that I've set up over the various customer demos. You would be able to create a new poll, and with that new poll, you would be asking a question, and let's do the standard. Are you excited today? And you're going to say yes, you're going to say no, and you're going to say whatever you want, because you can add as many options as you'd like. You say maybe. Oh. And now you have your question. You're going to choose. Open the screen up a little bit. You're going to be able to choose how you would like people to respond. So would you like people to respond with SMS? Would you like people to respond with web? Would you like people to respond with social? And I mentioned, there's other options, but these are kind of the standard options that most people go with, web definitely being the most popular. In the platform itself, you're able to actually change your template. So there's boilerplate templates built in here, but for any customer that's setting this up for a show or a broadcast or any significant event, we're probably going to be doing some graphic design for them. You can change the background with some backgrounds. You can even upload a picture on the fly if you'd like. And you're modifying basically everything that your audience or your customer is going to see when they respond to the poll. So this is a Grass Valley template that we originally had, and as you can see, I'm able to see exactly what question I asked, and the answers are mapped out as we're doing this. So it's all live, and it's all very intuitive. So as I'm doing it, as I'm setting it up, I can see what I'm doing. I can see all the answers. I can see how it looks, the feel, etc. So it's
Scott, let me
I like.
ask you while you're here, because you have the option, obviously, of SMS, web, or Twitter. For the SMS version, is it a pure text response where the client just gets a text, or the user, and they answer one for yes, two for no, or is it just a link that launches them back to the web platform?
No, it would be the first option. So it would
Nice.
be one for yes, two for no. Now it wouldn't be hard to include, because we have an SMS program running in the background. So it wouldn't be hard to include an SMS link that would link them back to a landing page where they would be prompted as a call to action to go vote. But the standard SMS is like true SMS, where they have like the one or two option.
Very cool.
Yeah. But in terms of workflow, when you're doing these things and you're setting them up, that's a great point, because sometimes there's a specific thing that the business wants to accomplish, or the client wants to accomplish. So for example, for NBC, you may have not picked up on this, or you may have, but they said to vote, download our app. Go to this website address and download our app, because their call to action, what they wanted to happen, it's not that they thought downloading an app was the easiest way to get somebody to vote. Obviously, there's easier ways. The less steps you ask someone to do, the more likely they are to do something. But for NBC, they wanted people to download that app. So the incentive was, okay, go download the app, go respond to the poll, and you can go win these tickets, or eventually a car or a truck or whatever. So it depends on what you want to accomplish, and that's how we set up the workflow, whatever you like to accomplish. If you want more people to go to your website, if you want more people to go to your social, that's usually what drives the voting mechanism. If you just want the most possible votes, you just make it as easy as possible and you open it up. But that may not be what you want to accomplish either. So this can be also used for like marketing initiatives, or just business objectives in general. So when you look through some of the other options that are built in, we have a few advanced options. You can show the results after someone votes. So similar to this, so I'm showing the results. I can show which option is correct, if there is a correct option. Obviously, with the poll that I launched, there was no correct option. You can link a poll. So what this allows you to do is you can put several polls in succession. So if you want 5 polls or even 2 polls, I can do poll 1, and after I'd answer, I'd go immediately to poll 2. I can also link to an external link, a landing page. If I answer a poll, I go to a landing page for a company or whatnot. If I want, I can also do smart linking, which is linking, but just to a further degree, whereas each answer can be linked to its own poll, or each answer can be linked to its own landing page. Someone like, think about it like a choose your own adventure, where yes goes here, no goes somewhere else, and maybe goes somewhere else. That's another option that's built in as well. And then we have a few more features. You can limit the amount of votes you'd like people to be able to vote. And that's really the crux of the boilerplate setup that we run through the back end. After you've chosen your options, you've chosen your template, you're clicking launch poll. And once you launch that poll, you'll notice that first page, because I've already mapped out gvpoll.com to this particular account, that first page now refreshes with the live poll. So this is more of a workflow thing. If you were launching multiple poll, like over the course of a broadcast or a period of time, you would launch a poll, and then as you launch each new poll, you'll notice that it's actually updated so that for the user, it's a seamless experience. They're always going to the same URL, or they're always going to the same domain, or they're always going to the same, or they're texting to the same phone number, and the poll can always be changing, even though the point where they're going to is always remaining the same. So now if you go to gvpoll.com, the poll that I just created is live. I can vote, and then you can see those votes coming in. And if people were voting at home or wherever you're at right now, you would notice that this is also updating with those live results, and those results being shown in the back end. So everyone's excited. That's good. I'm hopefully it's because I'm doing a mediocre job. I hope that's why everyone's excited. But if we look down here, we have a few other templates to show. So these again are, everything I'm showing you is very boilerplate. When we build these out, as you saw with NBC, they're quite nice and beautiful and fancy and all branded and whatnot and customized. But to show you just what it would look like on air, what you would actually crop and push through a graphic system, you have the option to crop that lower third. You have the option to crop a full screen, right? You can do that, and then obviously you can envision this would be where your broadcast should be, for example, as the poll was displayed on screen. So that's more or less the main components of the polling and gaming system. I want to here, give me 1 second. I'm gonna just see if I can find one more example. I don't think I have the slide handy per se, but I'll just go over one. I'll go over 2 more use cases, and then we can go to some questions. I think I'm running a little over for time, but that's okay. I'll do these examples quickly. So one use case for broadcast, I had shown for NBC LA, and the challenge that was on live live, it was pre-recorded, but it was like a live post-game show, so to speak. It wasn't traditional pre-recorded content like weekly shows. So another way you could use it for pre-recorded weekly segments, this was something that we did with a game show called Trivial Takedown. And the premise of the game show was there were celebrities that were answering questions on this game show, and they'd win points and whatnot. And it was a fun time, but they wanted to keep people engaged during the commercial breaks. So what they did was during the commercial breaks, they had used our software. They set up a gaming and polling instance where right before the commercial break, there would be a full screen question or call to action asking the viewers at home to go to a domain, to go vote, to go play, to go register and play along basically with the celebrities during the show. So this was right before a commercial break. The audience at home would go to a domain, they would go register with their Facebook or their Gmail, they'd create an account, they'd be answering questions that were synced up, sort of kind of in tandem with the questions that the celebrities were answering, and they would be answering these questions during the commercial break. By the time they were done answering these questions, the commercial break had ended, the show had resumed, and they didn't lose the engagement. And you didn't have people at home going to the bathroom, getting food, flicking through the channels. So that was a really good way to maintain that audience engagement during a commercial break. Another use case, just to give you some more ideas, we just recently completed a project with a very large nonprofit, and they had animated films that they use for educational content that they embedded on websites, on their website. So we had actually built a custom video player that incorporated the gaming and polling instance. And as this animated video played, at different points in the video, a question would pop up to gauge the students' understanding as to and obviously it was in reference to the content that was being played in the animated video, and they would actually be able to click a response, see if they were correct, see if they were learning, and obviously understanding the information that was being presented. So that was just another way that we could use this for not a traditional broadcast sense, but it's still very much in line with video and audience engagement to some extent. The options are truly endless as to how to use this. It's really up to you just thinking through and being creative as to how you want to engage and where you want to engage and whatnot. So those are 2 other really good use cases and examples of how you can use this. But that's my presentation. So I appreciate it. But Nick, let's if there's questions, I'm sure there are a few at least. We can go through those.
They're mostly mine at this point, which is
okay.
Oh, wait, but it's good. No, a couple of them I answered already in text, and really was pertaining to, and I guess this is an easy one, is polling has been around for a while. Like there's tons of web apps, there's tons of ways that you can create a poll. What I'm seeing, and maybe if you go back to the screen you were just on a second ago, if you can pull that back up for the audience, is that you guys have a platform that's polling built for content creators, content manipulators, right? And I think this is really key because if you look at the screen here, you've got several different ways that the content can be viewed and be brought out. Some with the green screen on the background, depending on which product you're using, some with just a crop layer. And I think that's kind of pivotal, because my question was going to relate to how do I take this content and get it into my platform, my switching platform, right? And I think that's, so those screens that I see on the bottom of your page right now, are all of those related to the same poll?
They are. So this is just to show you how it's set up if we were to create custom ones. But these are actually these are all related to the same poll. So they won't look as nice as and I'll show you what I mean by that. So when I launch this, this is a very standard template, but yeah, it's still related to that same poll. So it's all mapped out, right? So the question is mapped here, and then all your responses are mapped out here. So this is just something that you can pull up. So what you would normally do is you would have, say, for a broadcast, you'd have 5 or 6 of these set up already that you would be, these are the templates that we want to use for this broadcast. And once you ask these questions, you can choose, you can choose whatever you want, right? You can choose literally whatever you want. Here's one where obviously it's missing images, but if you saw on our first screen, when we go to the polls, there's actually options to upload images on the fly, or you can upload images ahead of time. And this would probably be for, you're asking an opinion on 3 very particular or specific things, most likely people. It could be for politics. It could be for a game show or something like that, where the question is, who do you think would have had the best performance, whatever, I don't know. And then I'm trying to stay away from politics. So well, let's go to like The Voice or something like that. Who do you think sung the best? And you have 3 candidates there, something like that. And then they have their picture. So that's really how you set it up. So a little bit of planning, but once it's set up, it's quite easy because everything is just automatically mapped.
So if you leave that one up there for me for a minute, I mean, this is, just quickly kind of walking through somebody. I mean, you guys have built a platform here that allows us to kind of very quickly, grab a graphic, and I'm doing this in, as fast as possible, kind of quick as possible, but it's not hard to kind of take that content and bring it into the show fairly quickly, right? And so you've got these different formats of the way this has been brought in, but it really gives you that ability to very quickly bring content on and off the screen, and as these polls are happening. And I think that's the difference, right? There have been plenty of polling apps out there. There are plenty of ways that you can connect the data, but what you're doing for somebody is developing the platform, giving them the avenue to speak to all their fans, all their engagement, whatever their business plan is, monetize it by adding, selling as an advertising platform as well, and then making it easily attainable to bring it into. Now, case in point here, I'm using Scan Converter. I'm scan converting the output of your screen, and I'm bringing that in as a source into my broadcast switch right now. And now it's very easy to crop that and kind of, or if I want to use the green screen to be able to pull that data in. It wasn't hard. And that's awesome, because typically this is hard. Typically you've got to go to a graphics platform and you've got to tie APIs to a web server somewhere and extract this data. And you guys have taken that burden out. It's now just a web page. You're going to scrape that web page. You can format that web page in a myriad of ways and bring that content into the system.
Exactly. Yeah. So you nailed it there, and that's really it. So it's really meant for the content creators, broadcasters, anybody who wants to put this on screen. The back end is just as robust as the rest of them. You mentioned the polling is not something that's new. So we do have the very, very robust back end, but the ease of use and I guess the benefit to content creators is, in my opinion, quite obvious, just because it's so easy. So that's really the takeaway that hopefully everyone who was listening got. But that's really why I think that it's useful for people that want to set these up quickly, efficiently. You don't want to have to bring in a developer. You don't want to have to bring in even somebody from like your technical team to help facilitate this. This can be entirely social, digital team, or whoever is managing. A very non-technical individual can set this up quite simply, which is huge, and that's very important.
Well, and I think as you keyed in on the sponsorship side of it, right? If I'm the marketing side of the business, from a technical standpoint, I'm not engaged in the live production, but I can generate the poll, I can create the content that my team is going to use, and I can manage that content, and I can go out and get a sponsor. Right? Yeah. From a marketing standpoint, a high school, a college sports team that wants to start selling small sponsorship opportunities in their live broadcasts or in their games. And this doesn't have to be potentially a live broadcast. This could be in stadium as well. I was at a monster truck rally with my kids before COVID hell broke loose, and it was great. They were, there was at the end of every race, you got to vote on who was the top winner right there, right? Who do you think should have won? And it's, I absolutely see how this can be very easily built into a live application that's not necessarily built for pure broadcast. broadcast, but is an IMAG experience within the broadcast.
Yeah.
You know, so churches, schools, I mean, there's just so many opportunities where I think the platform fits in, and that's why we wanted the audience to see it. I love the fact that it's easy to use. I love the fact that we don't really need a massive, worry about how am I connecting the APIs to my graphics engine. Although you did mention that it's built into a couple of different graphic engines. How is that integration done?
Yeah, definitely. I would actually ask if Belal is available to respond to this, because he
Yeah, of
knows.
course.
No.
Yeah, so we have actually done two main ways of integrating with like Chiron, BizRT, and ROS. One way is either through a native integration. So those who have the BizRT social TV package, there is a specific package there that allows them to just add a token, and then that will do the entire mapping to our APIs, so they can take all the sources into a template that they had already built. So for those who have like the social TV package within BizRT, it's a completely native integration in the sense that they just have to add a plugin to their system and have some sort of a token ID. In general, we have done integration through basically building templates using our APIs, and we provide this as a template that they could use it to basically add their own graphic package on top of it, or sometimes we can actually create the graphic package for them as well.
Now, okay, so there were two things in there that I really, really loved. And that was, rarely do we see manufacturers working together, right? And the fact that you were able to call out all these other software applications, other switcher, I mean, you would never hear Ross stand up and talk about everybody else's product, right? But here we've got this opportunity where it's a product built by, by the guys at Grass Valley that integrates with all these other software and hardware applications out there, and that's awesome. Because that's one of the struggles in the industry, is that you tend to buy into a platform and you're locked within that platform. And what you guys have done is said, cool, use whatever you got, right? I integrated into a TriCaster in 30 seconds. You've talked about how it goes into ROS and Chiron and all the other in the VizRT market. So very, very cool that you've got that flexibility, that from an API standpoint you can connect, or from a very simple scan conversion standpoint we can bring it in as well. So it's very seamless platform. Scott, can you speak to a little bit on if a client wants to get registration info? So you talked about NBC, how they built it, the app side of it. Did they build that into their own app, or so if let me break this down. If a client wants to get information for a contest about who's entering, how would they go around that? Would it be done within your platform completely, or would you use a third-party app?
So it would never be, so the only third party would be the client if they choose to build it out themselves. So we can take care of that end to end within our platform. So we actually do have a contesting solution that integrates and registers individuals so that we can map out the names to the responses. So that's all us. However, if you, even for NBC, for example, even though it's built into their app, it's basically just our platform built as a web page within their app. So if they wanted to, for example, of course, they can conduct their own registration, and that's probably actually a little bit more work for us, but we usually do it end to end, just for simplicity's sake, because we can control the whole back end, and then we just brand it to make it look like it's whoever's application.
So if it's an existing application, no problem. You've already got the client registration info. If it's a church website, or they can tie it into their LMS, their connectivity system. So it's not hard to embed you guys within. That's good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Takeaway is one-stop shop. So whatever you need to do, we do it. So there's no one else that you have to go to. We have built out every iteration and possible way to contest, poll, game, quiz your audience. So if there's something you want to try out, even I'm trying to think of like QR codes, not in the US obviously, but in abroad, premium SMS. These are all things that clients have come out us with that we've had to figure out for them. So whatever you can think of that's weird and obscure and outside of the box, we've probably figured it out already. So yeah, we can take care of most anything.
We had a question on content creation. So in modifying the layouts and the designs of both the polling side and the output side, is that CSS, or is that just traditional graphic design of elements of being able to import them?
So it depends. So these parts would be a traditional, like not traditional graphic. There would be some CSS involved in it because
Okay.
it has to be responsive to. So, and we would work on whichever type of platform you're trying to. And this is probably more on the broadcast side. Most of the CSS and responsiveness comes on, say you're launching it like on like a phone, for example, and you want to make sure that the actual landing page or the polling template is responsive to whatever size device they have. That would also be CSS. Now, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but I do know that it's a little bit more than just like uploading a picture per se. You'd want to get the pixels properly, the ratio and all that stuff set up. So yeah, there's a lot of companies and there's a lot of like clients that could do it themselves, but for the smaller ones, for sure, we can take care of that. And we do.
But you did show a spot earlier on when you were building it that allowed you to import a custom image.
Oh, yeah. So
just...
for this, so here, let me show you what that was. So for there's actually a pixel ratio that I can't remember, and I don't remember if Belal remembers it off the top of his head. But when you're actually uploading templates and pictures, there is dimensions that we suggest so that it works properly with the actual system. So like you were speaking about this component right here.
Yeah, there it was. Okay. You got to go with the
Yeah, so
dragon.
essentially what we usually do is during the setup phase, we try to create like a handful of templates for the customer. And we usually handle most of the CSS or any sort of HTML5 rendering on our end. They're more than welcome to create their own as well. But once we implement it in, there are parameters like backgrounds, like when you have an option and you have a vote, let's say like a debate, you can upload like photos directly into the template. So the idea is to create templates that you can always reuse and you can have multiple of them.
Nice. All right, looks like we're bumping up against our time. We've run out of questions. Hey guys, super excited. Glad you were able to show this to us today. How does, from a test standpoint, you mentioned demos. How does a client figure out if this is right for them? Do you have an opportunity where they can test it and try it out on their own?
Yeah, so I would say depending on who the audience is, if there's somebody who has their own clients, if there's somebody that directly broadcasts, obviously it could be, I'm assuming, a mix, but regardless, if you're somebody who does directly broadcast, then I would say, reach out and let's think of a proof of concept. So think of a way where you'd like to test it. Obviously, you want to get under the hood first and get comfortable with it, and we can just open up an account for that. But then let's really work towards figuring out a proof of concept or a show or a segment where we can run this. So let's pick that first point where after you're comfortable with the technology and you do the audit of how it works and we look at the designs, let's pick something like a pilot project, for example, that we can run this on for a show. It could be one question that comes up halfway through the show. You see the audience engagement, you see if there's feedback, you see if the audience is willing to do this and they like it, they don't, whatever. So that's something that we can do with anybody who's directly broadcasting. If for some reason you're an individual consultant and you have clients, then also we'll set up a demo license. We'll get you comfortable with the program, but same process. It would just go through you, and we'll support you in obviously helping one of your clients run the proof of concept. And we can even, if there's someone who's a really great client who you want to take this to, we can create some custom templates to show it off, so that it, when you do the demo, you do the presentation, it looks and feels like it's already bespoke for them with their colors, their brand, their graphics, their font, whatever. So yeah, so I just say, get comfortable under the hood, reach out to us so we can give you access and you can play around with it. We'll do an onboarding session. We'll set up the first poll with you. And then after that, it would be the proof of concept or that first test run on a broadcast. And we can help you out with that as well. And then obviously, hopefully you love it and then you can use it long term.
That's what we look for.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, this has been awesome. Thank you much. I appreciate you sharing this one. Now the cool part is you guys are going to be back in a couple of weeks. So just a sneak of what's coming. Scott and Belal are going to be back in a couple of weeks on the show, and we're going to talk about cloud switching And this is a topic that's got a lot of people asking questions, because especially right now when you can't be in the studio, but you want to be able to aggregate content and produce a show. So they're going to be back in a couple weeks. And the reason it's in a couple weeks is because I think there's something coming to the platform in terms of some new features, some new stuff. So we wanted to hold off on showing it a little bit until all the latest releases are done. But stay tuned in a couple weeks. The invites are already out there. You can find it on the website. But come back to catch this show again, because we're going to be doing live cloud switching with Scott. Laura just pinged in. It's on June 8th. So June 18th, not 8th. 18th, yeah. So mark your calendars, June 18th. We're going to do this again with Scott, but we're going to talk about cloud switching. So managing your content completely in the cloud and creating a show in real time. It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm excited. Matt, anything for the audience, since you were here and you were quiet the whole time? That's the quietest I've ever heard you in a call.
Oh, I thought mute the whole time. What happened?
Oh, is that what it was?
No, I guess, one of the things that I want to make sure that everybody understands is that this is an affordable platform. It is not as expensive as I imagined it would be, with as full featured as it is. It's really attainable. Even if you just have a singular event that you need something like this for, it's not cost prohibitive to do it. So, that I just want to make sure that everybody understands that really any event, this is something that can add another level to what that event experience is like for your audience. And that's it.
Hey, Scott, we did have a question just popped in at the last second. Matt, thank you for that. Sorry to cut you off. Do you have a game show template that shows who answered first, or the ability to, to get the first, basically the first correct answer?
Yes. So I don't have a template loaded up that I can show you right now, but the NBC LA demo, example, video, whatever you want to call it, that was exactly actually what they're asking for.
Okay.
So that was set up so that there was 3 answers put up on screen. It was a trivia, right? So somebody had already registered with their username, password, created an account. NBC had gotten whatever information they wanted to get from the customer. So they had registered, they were logged in, they were ready to answer. They downloaded the app ahead of time. This is the whole workflow, I guess. And then 3 questions would come up, 3 trivia questions. And every 6 seconds, I think points were taken off. So the quicker you answered, the more points you got. And every 6 seconds, you get a few less points. And every 6 seconds, you get a few less points, until obviously you're not getting any points, or only the right answer is still on the screen. So that was actually exactly what you're discussing. And that was the time value use case for a game show. Not all game shows are like that, right? Not all game shows are that, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire countdown style game show.
Right.
But that one in particular was. Whereas the one that we used for Fuse, where it was asking questions during a commercial break, for Trivial Takedown, excuse me. Fuse was the broadcaster. Trivial Takedown was the name of the show. That one was just asking questions, and there was a right or wrong. There was no time value associated with that. So that was still a game show, trivia, but there was no time value. So we've done both. It depends on what experience you want to deliver.
So you got the flexibility. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the nice part. What we're hearing here is you got the flexibility to deliver based on what the client wants to achieve. Killer. All right, Michael, I hope that answered your question for you. Hit up Scott and the rest of us if you want to go a little further and actually test that out. Other than that, guys, I'm going to put this one in the can. We pulled it off in under an hour. Scott, thank you for being here. Belal, thank you for being here. Matt, thank you for being here.
You.
And we'll see you all on the next episode. And make sure you call, click, or email if you have any more questions, or if you'd like to get a demo of this on your own. All right. We'll see you all in the next episode.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.